I am the most powerful man in the known world, and I am terrified every single day, not of barbarians or assassins of my own mind, of the voice that whispers I'm inadequate, of the crushing weight of decisions that will outlive me. If an emperor with infinite resources can't buy peace of mind, what makes you think your next promotion will? This video will teach you what took me decades of war, plague, and betrayal to understand. Your mind is either your sanctuary or your prison, and you hold the only key. Let me be honest with you, in a way emperors rarely are. Right now, as I speak to you across the centuries, you think my life was different than yours. You imagine marble columns and obedient servants and a kind of peace that comes from absolute power. But here's what they don't tell you in the history scrolls. Every single morning I wake up with the same knot in my stomach that you do, the same voice asking if I'm enough, the same terror that everything I've built could crumble, the same exhaustion from pretending I have it all together. You see, you've been sold a very specific lie, and it's killing you slowly. The lie goes like this: if you just get the right circumstances, you'll finally feel calm. If you just find the right relationship, get the right job, make the right amount of money, fix the right problems, then peace will arrive like a package at your door. And you've been working yourself to death building that fortress, controlling, managing, perfecting, optimizing, building walls around your peace of mind. And then one phone call comes, one diagnosis, one betrayal, one market crash, one pandemic, and the whole fortress crumbles in seconds, and you're left standing in the rubble thinking, what was the point? Why did I exhaust myself for something so fragile? I need you to understand something that took me half my life to learn. You will never control enough of life to feel permanently safe. Never. I command 12 legions. I have the wealth of nations. I can have someone executed with a word. And I cannot control the plague that's killing my people. I cannot control the Germanic tribes crossing our borders. I cannot control my own son's cruelty, or my wife's grief, or the Senate's conspiracies. I cannot control the fact that everything I love will eventually turn to dust. If I can't control these things with infinite power, what makes you think you can control your life with your spreadsheets and your plans and your positive thinking? But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where everything shifts. Because I'm not telling you this to make you despair. I'm telling you this to set you free. The moment I stopped trying to control the uncontrollable, something extraordinary happened. I became unbreakable. Not because nothing could hurt me, but because I stopped requiring the world to be different than it is for me to be okay. That's what this video is about. Not some fluffy motivation about staying positive, not some empty platitude about everything happening for a reason. I'm going to show you how to build an inner citadel, a fortress of the mind that remains standing even when everything outside is burning. How to meet catastrophe with clear eyes and a steady heart. How to lose everything except yourself. And I need to warn you right now, this is going to contradict everything you've been taught about strength. Everything your parents told you, everything your culture celebrates, everything social media sells you. We've been taught that strength means not feeling, that calmness means suppressing your emotions, that peace requires favorable conditions. All of it is backwards. Real strength isn't the absence of fear, it's the presence of courage while you're terrified. Real calmness isn't the absence of chaos. It's the presence of self-mastery in chaos's midst. You're not trying to stop the storm, you're becoming the mountain. So if you're here right now, exhausted from trying to hold everything together, exhausted from pretending you're fine, exhausted from the constant vigilance of trying to keep life from falling apart, I see you. I am you. And I'm about to show you a different way. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share isn't theory. It's not philosophy for the sake of sounding smart. These are the principles that kept me sane while my world burned. These are the truths I whispered to myself in my tent while my soldiers died and my children plotted and Rome teetered on the edge of collapse. This is the difference between surviving and drowning. Let me take you back to a specific moment, a moment that changed everything for me. I want you to understand that this isn't ancient history. This is your life. Different century, same human terror. It's the year 169. I've just returned from the Germanic campaigns. We've been fighting for months in the freezing north, and the battles have been brutal. Men I knew by name are buried in foreign soil. But I'm returning to Rome, and I'm thinking about my son, my youngest, the one who still looks at me like I hung the stars. I'm thinking about holding him, about the way he laughs, about teaching him to ride. I'm thinking about my wife, about finally sleeping in my own bed, about a few months of peace before the next crisis. I enter the palace, and the silence tells me everything before anyone speaks. The plague. The same plague that's been ravaging the empire, that's killed millions, that we thought we'd escaped. It came for my house while I was gone. My son is dead, 7 years old. His body already burned according to protocol. I didn't get to say goodbye. I didn't get to hold him one last time. I didn't get to tell him I loved him, or that I was sorry I was gone so much, or that he mattered more than all the empires in the world. My wife is in her chambers, grief-stricken, unable to speak. The servants are terrified to look at me. The Senate is already circling, wondering if my grief will make me weak, if this is their opportunity to seize more power. And I'm standing in my private chamber, the one place I'm allowed to not be the emperor, and I'm screaming, actually screaming at the gods, at the universe, at the cruelty of it all. I'm on my knees, and I'm asking why. Why my son? Why now? What did I do to deserve this? Haven't I served Rome faithfully? Haven't I tried to be good? And in that moment, something breaks in me. But not the way you think. Because as I'm screaming, as I'm demanding answers from an indifferent universe, I suddenly hear my own voice. And I realize I'm not actually asking, why did this happen? I'm asking, why did this happen to me? I'm asking, why didn't I get what I wanted? I'm asking, why isn't life following my script? And the answer comes, not from the gods, but from somewhere deep inside me, a voice that's been there all along, waiting for me to stop shouting long enough to hear it. Life doesn't owe you your son. Life doesn't owe you fairness. Life doesn't owe you the script you wrote. The universe isn't cruel. It's not kind. It's indifferent. It operates according to its own laws, and your preferences don't change those laws. Your son died. That's the reality. Your grief is real and valid and human. But your suffering, the part that's making you scream, that's coming from your demand, that reality should be different. That's coming from your insistence that this shouldn't have happened. That's coming from your belief that you were supposed to get something different. And in that moment, still on my knees, still with tears on my face, something fundamental shifts. I don't stop grieving. I don't stop hurting. But I stop fighting reality. I stop demanding that the universe explain itself to me. I accept that this is what happened. This is what is. And in that acceptance, I find something I never expected. Not happiness, not peace in the way you usually think of it, but a kind of steadiness, a solid ground beneath my feet. Because I'm no longer exhausting myself fighting a battle I can't win, I'm no longer pouring my energy into the impossible task of making the past different. I'm here, in this moment, with this grief, and I'm still breathing, and the sun is still setting outside my window, and tomorrow I'll still have to be the emperor. And none of that requires my son to be alive for me to meet it with dignity. Now, I'm telling you this story not to compare tragedies. Your pain isn't less real because you're not an emperor. Your struggles aren't less valid because they're different than mine. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand something crucial. What if your pain isn't actually the problem? What if the real problem is your belief that you shouldn't be in pain? Your belief that life should be fair? Your belief that bad things shouldn't happen to good people? Your belief that if you just work hard enough, plan well enough, control enough variables, you can avoid suffering? That belief, that's the knife that's actually killing you. Because here's what no one tells you. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Pain is what happens when life doesn't go your way. Suffering is what happens when you refuse to accept that pain. When you fight it, resist it, demand it be different. Let me give you another picture, because I think this is so important. Imagine you're standing in a river. The water is cold. The current is strong. These are the facts of your situation. Pain is the cold water and the strong current. That's just reality. That's just what is. Now, suffering is when you stand in that river demanding that the water be warm, demanding that the current be gentle, cursing the river for being a river, exhausting yourself trying to make the water different than it is. Peace, real peace, is when you're still standing in that cold river with that strong current, but you're no longer fighting the fact that you're there. You're not pretending it's warm. You're not denying the current. You're just there, present, accepting what is while deciding how to respond. Do you feel the difference? It's subtle, but it changes everything. Most people spend their entire lives standing in various rivers, exhausting themselves, demanding the water be different. And then they wonder why they're so tired, why they can't find peace, why calmness feels impossible. And here's the cruel irony. The more you fight the water, the more you suffer. The more you accept the water, the more energy you have to actually navigate it. So, let me show you what I mean with a different kind of story. This one's older than me. It's something my teacher taught me when I was young, before I understood its depth. There's an oak tree and a cluster of reeds growing by a river. The oak is massive, strong, proud. It's been there for 100 years. Its roots go deep. Its trunk is wider than a man's embrace. When storms come, it stands firm. It doesn't bend, it doesn't yield. And everyone who sees it thinks, that's strength. That's what I want to be. The reeds, by contrast, seem weak. They're thin. They bend with the slightest breeze. They seem to have no spine, no structure. People walk past them and think nothing of them. Then a great storm comes, the kind that happens once in a generation. The wind howls, the river floods, the rain falls like divine punishment. And the oak tree, for all its strength, for all its years, for all its deep roots, it breaks. The wind is too strong, the tree is too rigid, it cannot bend, and so it snaps. 100 years of growth destroyed in one night. The reeds, they're still there in the morning. Bent, yes, flattened even, but alive, whole, because they knew something the oak forgot. Flexibility isn't weakness, it's a different kind of strength. The reeds have a core, they're not broken, not defeated, but they don't try to be something they're not. They don't demand that the storm be different. They yield to what they cannot control and preserve what matters most: their life, their continuity, their essence. Now here's where people misunderstand this story. They think it means become weak, become passive, let life walk all over you. That's not what I'm saying at all. The reeds aren't surrendering. They're not giving up. They're making a strategic choice. They're saying, I cannot control this storm, but I can control my response to it. I can be rigid and break, or I can be flexible and survive. That's what I'm teaching you. Not passivity, not resignation, but strategic acceptance of reality combined with intentional action within your sphere of control. You've been trying to be the oak when life needs you to be the reed. You've been building your identity on rigidity, on having it all together, on never bending, on staying strong no matter what. And I'm telling you, The next big storm is going to break you if you don't learn to bend. But here's where it gets complicated. And I need you to stay with me because this is the nuanced part that most people miss. Being the reed doesn't mean having no boundaries. It doesn't mean accepting abuse. It doesn't mean you can't fight for what matters. The reed has a core. It knows what it is. It's just not trying to control the uncontrollable. So how do you know what to bend on and what to stand firm on? How do you know when to be the reed and when to be the oak? That's what the rest of this video is about. That's the skill I'm going to teach you. And it starts with understanding something that changed my entire life. There are exactly two categories of things in this universe. Things you control and things you don't control. That's it. Two categories. And your entire life will be determined by how clearly you can distinguish between them. Let me be very specific, because this is the foundation of everything. Things you control, your thoughts, your beliefs, your reactions, your effort, your character, your values, the meaning you assign to events, how you treat people, what you pay attention to, your integrity, your choices, things you don't control, other people's thoughts, other people's choices, the past, the future, your reputation, whether people like you, the weather, the economy, outcomes, results, death, illness, accidents, other people's behavior, what happened to you, the cards you were dealt. Now here's what most people do. They spend 90% of their energy trying to control things in the second category. They exhaust themselves trying to make people like them, trying to guarantee outcomes, trying to prevent bad things from happening, trying to control what others think of them, trying to rewrite the past, trying to secure the future. And they spend maybe 10% of their energy on the things they actually control: their own character, their own reactions, their own effort, their own integrity. And then they wonder why they're exhausted and nothing changes. It's like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom and wondering why you're always thirsty. So here's the shift that changes everything. What if you took all that energy you're currently wasting on trying to control the uncontrollable and you redirected it toward the only things you actually can control? What if instead of trying to make people like you focused on becoming someone you respect? What if instead of trying to guarantee outcomes, you focused on giving your best effort regardless of results? What if instead of trying to prevent all bad things from happening, you focused on building a character that can handle bad things when they come? What if instead of trying to control your reputation, you focused on living with integrity, whether anyone notices or not? This sounds simple. It's not easy, because your entire life has been training you to do the opposite. Let me give you an example from my own life. I spend hours every day in meetings with the Senate. These are men who smile to my face and plot behind my back. Men who will say anything to gain favor. Men whose loyalty shifts with political winds. I used to leave these meetings exhausted, furious. I'd replay conversations in my head. I'd strategize about how to win them over. I'd lose sleep, worrying about what they were saying about me when I wasn't there. I'd obsess over their approval. One day, my teacher asked me a simple question. Can you control what they think of you? No, I said. But I can influence it. I can. Can you control it? He interrupted. No. Then why are you spending so much energy on it? And I had no answer. Because the truth was, I was spending energy on it precisely because I couldn't control it. Because I was terrified of that lack of control. So I was trying to manage it, influence it, manipulate it, anything to feel less powerless. What can you control? He asked. I thought about it. My words in the meeting, my integrity, whether I tell the truth, whether I listen, whether I act with justice. That's all you can control. That's where all your energy should go. Everything else is none of your business. None of your business. I remember being shocked by that phrase. What the Senate thinks of me is none of my business. I'm the emperor. Their opinions have real consequences. Yes, he said, they have consequences. But you don't control those consequences. You only control your character. Focus on what's yours to focus on. Let go of the rest. That conversation changed how I governed, changed how I lived. Now, when I leave those meetings, I ask myself one question. Did I act with integrity? If yes, I'm done. I release the rest. What they think, what they say, what they plot, that's their business, not mine. I've done what was mine to do. And the paradox is, when I stopped trying to control their opinion of me, I became a better emperor, because I was no longer performing for approval. I was acting from principle. And people can feel the difference. This applies to your life too. You're exhausting yourself trying to control things that aren't yours to control. Your boss's mood, your partner's choices, your parents' approval, the outcome of your efforts. Whether the opportunity works out, whether people appreciate you, whether life is fair, none of that is yours to control. And every ounce of energy you spend trying to control it is energy you're not spending on what actually is yours. Your effort, your attitude, your integrity, your growth, your response, your character. So right now, I want you to think about what's stressing you out, what's keeping you up at night, what's making you feel like everything's falling apart. Write it down mentally. Get specific. Now ask yourself, is this something I control or something I don't control? If you don't control it, your job isn't to fix it. Your job is to accept it and decide how you want to respond. That's it. Acceptance plus intentional response. If you do control it, your job isn't to guarantee an outcome. Your job is to give your best effort and release attachment to results. Do you see how this simplifies everything? You're not trying to control the whole universe anymore. You're just trying to control you. And suddenly, that's manageable. But let me go deeper, because there's a part of this that people find really hard to accept. What about injustice? What about when bad things happen that shouldn't happen? Am I supposed to just accept that? This is where people think Stoicism is about passivity. It's not. Listen carefully. Accepting reality doesn't mean approving of reality. It doesn't mean you can't work to change reality. It means you start from truth, not from fantasy. If someone wrongs you, acceptance means acknowledging that it happened, not denying it, not minimizing it, not pretending you're fine. It happened. That's the truth. But suffering comes from adding a layer on top of that truth. This shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't have done that. The universe should be fair. I don't deserve this. All of that is you arguing with reality. And reality doesn't care about your argument. Reality just is. So acceptance is, this happened, I don't like it, it's unjust, and it happened. Now, from that place of clear-eyed acceptance, you can take powerful action. You can set boundaries. You can seek justice. You can work to prevent it from happening again. You can protect yourself and others. But you're acting from groundedness, not from resistance. You're not trying to change the past. You're not exhausting yourself wishing things were different. You're dealing with what is. That's the difference. And it makes you far more effective. I've had to execute men who betrayed Rome. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't pretend it wasn't happening. I accepted the reality that betrayal occurred, that consequences were necessary, that this was my duty, and I acted clearly, decisively, without torturing myself about whether it should be different. That's power. Real power. Not the power to control outcomes. The power to meet reality without flinching. Now let me show you something that's going to sound completely backwards at first. The obstacles in your life aren't interruptions. They're not detours. They're not problems to be solved, so you can get back to your real life. The obstacles are the path. The obstacles are your real life. The difficulties are what's teaching you. The challenges are what's forging you. I know that sounds like toxic positivity. Stay with me. When a blacksmith wants to make a sword, he doesn't gently shape the metal with kind words. He heats it until it's glowing. He hammers it. He plunges it in cold water. He repeats this process over and over, each time making the metal stronger, more flexible, more able to hold an edge. If you watched this process without context, you'd think he was destroying the metal. All that heat and hammering and shock, it looks like torture. But he's not destroying it. He's forging it. The metal becomes what it's meant to be through the very process that looks like destruction. You are that metal. Life is the blacksmith. And every difficulty, every obstacle, every moment where it feels like everything's falling apart, that's the hammer. You're not being destroyed. You're being forged. But here's the crucial part. The metal doesn't resist the hammer. If it did, it would shatter. The metal yields, accepts the pressure, and is transformed by it. That's what I mean when I say the obstacle is the way. Every difficulty you're facing right now is material for your growth. Every problem is an opportunity to practice a virtue. Every challenge is a chance to become stronger. You lost your job? That's an opportunity to practice resilience, to discover what you're actually made of, to learn that your identity isn't your title. Someone betrayed you? That's an opportunity to practice forgiveness, to develop wisdom about who to trust, to learn about your own boundaries. You're facing illness? That's an opportunity to practice courage, to discover what really matters, to stop postponing your real life. I'm not saying these things are good. I'm not saying you should want them. I'm saying that since they're happening anyway, you might as well use them. Because here's the truth. You don't get to choose whether difficulties come. They come. The only choice you get is whether they break you or forge you. And that choice happens in how you frame them, in the meaning you assign to them, in whether you see them as happening to you or happening for you. Let me tell you about the plague years, the Antonine Plague. It killed somewhere between 5 and 10 million people. That's not an abstract number. That's millions of individuals, each with names and families and dreams and futures that were cut short. Rome was dying. The streets smelled of death. Funeral pyres burned day and night. People were terrified to touch each other, to go outside, to live. And I had a choice. I could see this as the end of Rome, as a catastrophe that proved the gods hated us, as a reason to despair. Or I could see it as a test of our character, as an opportunity for Romans to show who we really were, as a chance for me to lead not just in prosperity but in crisis. I chose the second one. Not because I'm noble, but because the first choice led to despair and paralysis, and the second choice led to action and meaning. Did that make the plague good? No. Did it make the deaths acceptable? No. But it made my response to them purposeful. I organized relief efforts. I funded physicians. I emptied the imperial treasury to help those who couldn't afford funerals. I stayed in Rome when other leaders fled. Not because I'm a hero, but because I asked myself, what virtue can this difficulty teach me? What can I control in this situation? And the answer was courage, generosity, leadership, presence. The plague was still the plague, but my response to it became the defining moment of my reign, the thing that showed what kind of emperor I was. That's what I mean by the obstacle is the way. I didn't choose the plague, but I chose what I became because of it. You don't choose your obstacles, but you choose who you become because of them. And here's the thing that nobody tells you. The obstacles you're avoiding, the difficulties you're running from, the challenges you're trying to control, away those, are precisely the things that contain your growth. You want to be more confident? You need to face situations that scare you. You want to be more patient? You need to encounter things that irritate you. You want to be more resilient? You need to experience things that threaten to break you. There's no other way. You don't build these qualities in comfort. You build them in resistance. So when something difficult happens, instead of immediately asking, "How do I fix this?" or "How do I make this go away?" try asking, "What is this teaching me?" or "What virtue can I practice here?" That simple reframe changes everything, because now the difficulty isn't your enemy, it's your curriculum. Now, I need to talk about something that people find even more radical than what I've already said. And honestly, it took me years to fully understand it, years to practice it, years to believe it. The idea is this: don't just accept your fate, love it. I know that sounds insane. How can you love illness? How can you love betrayal? How can you love loss? Let me explain what I actually mean, because this gets misunderstood constantly. Loving your fate doesn't mean you're happy about everything that happens. It doesn't mean you pretend pain doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean you stop working to make things better. It means you release the fantasy version of your life and embrace the actual version of your life. It means you stop fighting the fundamental fact that this, right here, right now, exactly as it is your life. Not the life you planned, not the life you deserved, not the life you were promised. This life, the one that's actually happening. And you have a choice. You can spend your entire existence resenting that your actual life isn't your fantasy life. You can be bitter that things didn't go the way you wanted. You can be angry that the universe didn't follow your script. Or you can say, "This is my life. These are my circumstances. This is my raw material. How do I make something beautiful from exactly this?" That's amor fati. That's loving your fate. It's saying, if I could go back and redesign my life from scratch, I wouldn't change a thing. Not because everything was pleasant, but because everything made me who I am, and I accept who I am. This sounds impossible, I know. How can you love the things that hurt you? How can you be grateful for pain? Try thinking about it this way. Every single thing that has happened to you, every mistake you made, every betrayal you suffered, every loss you endured, all of it has led you to this exact moment. It's shaped your character, taught you lessons, given you wisdom, made you who you are. If you changed even one thing about your past, you'd be a different person. You'd have different knowledge, different strength, different compassion, different understanding. So when you wish things had been different, you're actually wishing you were a different person. And that means rejecting yourself. That means saying the person you are isn't good enough. That means living in a perpetual state of self-rejection. Amor fati is the opposite. It's saying, I am the sum total of my experiences, and I accept that sum total. I don't need a different past to be worthy of peace right now. Let me get personal for a moment. I was raised to be emperor. From childhood I was trained, educated by the best minds, groomed for power. You'd think that's a gift. In many ways it was. But it also meant I never had a normal childhood. I never got to just be a kid. I never got to make mistakes without consequences. I never got to discover who I was, separate from what I was supposed to be. For years, I resented that. I'd watch other children playing, and I'd feel this ache, this sense that something was stolen from me, this anger at the weight I never asked to carry. And that resentment poisoned everything. It made me ungrateful for the opportunities I had. It made me bitter toward my teachers. It made me feel like I was living someone else's life. Then one day, I realized something. That resentment wasn't hurting anyone but me. It wasn't changing the past. It wasn't giving me a different childhood. It was just making my present miserable. So I tried something different. I said to myself, what if this exact childhood, as imperfect as it was exactly what I needed to become, who I needed to become? What if the pressure made me disciplined? What if the expectations made me resilient? What if the weight made me strong? What if I stopped wishing for a different past and started being grateful for the person this past created? And something shifted. Not everything. I still have moments of grief for what I didn't have, but underneath that grief is acceptance. This is my life. This was my path. And I wouldn't be able to do what I do now if I'd had a different path. That's amor fati in practice. Now apply this to your life. What are you resenting? What are you wishing was different? Your past, your family, your circumstances, your body, your mind. What if you stopped fighting that reality and started asking, what did this teach me? How did this shape me? What strength did I develop because of this? What would I lose if this had been different? I'm not asking you to be grateful for abuse or injustice. I'm asking you to accept that it happened and look for how you grew anyway, how you survived, how you're stronger than you think because you made it through. Because here's the thing, you can't change the past. You can only change your relationship to it. And as long as you're at war with your past, you're at war with yourself. Amor fati is how you make peace with yourself. Now, there's one more foundation I need to give you before we talk about practice. And this one's uncomfortable, but it's possibly the most important. You're going to die. I know you know that intellectually, but do you know it in your bones? Do you live like you know it? Because most people live like they're immortal, like they have infinite time, like there's always tomorrow to start living authentically, to tell people they love them, to do what matters. And then suddenly there isn't tomorrow, and they realize they spent their whole life preparing to live instead of actually living. The Stoics meditate on death, not because we're morbid or depressed, but because death is the ultimate deadline. It's the thing that makes life precious. It's the context that reveals what actually matters. When you remember you're going to die, suddenly a lot of the things you stress about seem ridiculous. The opinion of someone who won't remember you in 10 years, meaningless. The status symbol you're chasing, dust. The grudge you're holding, a waste of your limited time. But also, the things that matter become crystal clear. The people you love, the impact you make, the character you build, the moments you're actually present for. These things become urgent. I try to start every day by remembering I could die today. Sounds depressing, right? It's actually the opposite. It makes me grateful for the day. It makes me present with the people I love. It makes me stop postponing the things that matter. It makes me ask, if this was my last day, would I be proud of how I lived it? Would I have any regrets about what I didn't say or didn't do? And if the answer is yes, I change my behavior today, not tomorrow, today. Because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Tomorrow is a fantasy. Today is all you have. Think about the people you love. Are you assuming they'll always be there? Are you taking them for granted? Are you postponing the conversations, the time together, the vulnerability, the love? What if you're wrong? What if tomorrow they're gone? What if tomorrow you're gone? Would you be satisfied with the last conversation you had with them? Would you be satisfied with how you showed up, with what you said and what you didn't say? This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about living like your time matters because it does. I've sent thousands of men to war, young men with their whole lives ahead of them. And every single time, I know some of them won't come back. Every single time, I carry the weight of that knowledge. And it's taught me something crucial. Life isn't promised. Not to them, not to me, not to you. The only moment that's real is right now. Everything else is memory or imagination. So the question becomes, how do you want to live right now? Not someday, not when things are perfect, not when you've achieved all your goals. Right now, in the middle of the mess, with everything uncertain, because that's all life ever is, a series of right nows, and you're either present for them or you're not. You're either living them or you're waiting for some future moment when you give yourself permission to really live. Stop waiting. You don't have time to wait. Now, I know all of this sounds beautiful in theory. Accept what you can't control. Embrace obstacles. Love your fate. Remember death. Be present. But how do you actually do it? How do you practice this when you're in the middle of a crisis and everything's falling apart? That's what I want to give you now. Not just philosophy, but practice. Actual tools you can use today, this week, when life gets hard. Because wisdom without application is just entertainment. And I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to help you. So let's start with the morning. Because how you start your day determines the quality of your entire day. Every single morning, before you check your phone, before you talk to anyone, before you start reacting to the world, I want you to take 5 minutes for what I call the dichotomy audit. Get a piece of paper or open your notes app. Write down 3 things that are stressing you out right now. 3 things that are on your mind. 3 things you're worried about. Be specific. Not work, but the presentation I have to give on Thursday. Not relationships, but the conversation I need to have with my partner about money. Now, for each one, ask yourself one simple question. Is this something I control? If the answer is no, if it's someone else's opinion, or an outcome, or the past, or the future, right next to it, not mine to control, mine to accept and respond. That doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you shift your focus from controlling the thing to controlling your response to the thing. So if you wrote, whether I get the promotion, that's not in your control. What is in your control? The quality of your work, your preparation, your attitude, your integrity. Focus your energy there. Do what's yours to do. Give your best. Then release attachment to the outcome. If the answer is yes, if it is something you control, right next to it, one specific action you can take today. Not everything, not the whole solution. One action. Maybe you wrote, having a difficult conversation. You control whether you initiate it, how you show up for it, what you say, how you listen. One action today might be, text them to set up a time to talk. That's it. You've now taken something that was creating anxiety and either released it or made it actionable. You've stopped the mental spinning. Do this every morning. It takes 5 minutes, and it trains your brain to automatically sort between what's yours and what isn't. It creates clarity before the chaos of the day begins. But what about when you're in the middle of the chaos? When something just happened and you're triggered and you're about to react in a way you'll regret. This is where the 3-breath reset comes in. Something happens. Someone says something cruel. You get bad news. Something breaks. Your immediate impulse is to react, to yell, to panic, to shut down, to spiral. Instead, pause. Just for 3 breaths. That's it. 3 conscious breaths. Sounds too simple to work, but I promise you, it's powerful. Breath 1. Say to yourself, this is happening. That's acceptance. You're not denying it. You're not minimizing it. You're acknowledging reality. This is happening. It's real. I don't like it. And it's happening. Breath 2. Say to yourself, I am not this situation. That's detachment. This situation is external to you. It's something you're experiencing, not something you are. You are the awareness observing this, not the thing being observed. You're bigger than this moment. Breath 3. Say to yourself, what can I control right now? That's agency. You can't control what just happened, but you can control what you do next. You can control your response. You have power here, just not the power you wanted. 3 breaths. Maybe 15 seconds. But in those 15 seconds, you've created space between stimulus and response. You've interrupted the automatic reaction. You've given your rational mind time to come back online. And from that space, you can choose. You can choose how you want to show up. You can choose what matters more in this moment. You can choose the person you want to be. This works in traffic. This works in arguments. This works when you get devastating news. This works when someone's pushing your buttons. This works when you're overwhelmed and don't know what to do. 3 breaths. Every single time. It's the pause that saves you from yourself. Now, Let's talk about when you're facing a real obstacle. Not just a moment of stress, but an actual difficult situation that's ongoing. A health crisis, a job loss, a relationship ending, a project failing. This is where obstacle journaling becomes your friend. When you're in crisis mode, your brain is in fight or flight. It's catastrophizing. It's seeing everything as a threat. It's telling you stories about how this means you're a failure, or life is over, or nothing will ever be okay again. You need to get out of your head and onto paper. So take 5 minutes and write. Answer these questions. 1. What exactly is happening? Just the facts. No interpretation, no story. What are the observable facts of the situation? This alone helps, because usually what we're panicking about isn't the actual situation, it's our interpretation of the situation. It's the story we're telling ourselves about what it means. 2. What virtue could this teach me? What character strength does this require me to develop? Patience, courage, humility, resilience, adaptability. Frame it as training. The universe has enrolled you in a course. What's the subject? 3. How might this be protecting me from something worse? This sounds wild, but try it. What door is closing so a better door can open? What path are you being redirected from? I'm not saying everything happens for a reason. I'm saying your brain needs to find meaning, and you might as well direct it toward useful meaning instead of catastrophic meaning. 4. What would I tell a friend facing this? We're so much wiser and kinder when we're advising others than when we're advising ourselves. So imagine your best friend came to you with this exact problem. What would you say? What perspective would you offer? Now take your own advice. This practice does something crucial. It takes the swirling anxiety and panic in your head and organizes it into something manageable. It shifts you from victim to student, from helpless to curious. And from curiosity, you can act. But let's talk about the practice that people find most uncomfortable. The evening practice. The one that involves death. Every night, before you go to sleep, I want you to ask yourself one question. If this was my last day, did I live with integrity? Not perfection. Integrity. Did you do what you said you'd do? Did you treat people the way you want to be remembered treating them? Did you spend your time on what matters? Did you say what needed to be said? Did you show up as the person you want to be? If yes, sleep peacefully. You did what was yours to do. If no, don't beat yourself up. Just notice it and adjust tomorrow. Make a different choice. Say the thing you didn't say. Do the thing you postponed. Show up differently. This practice creates urgency without anxiety. It makes you intentional without making you frantic. Because you're not trying to do everything. You're just trying to live with integrity today. And if you do that every day, you'll have lived a life of integrity. That's all any of us can do. There's one more practice I want to give you, and this one's weekly instead of daily. It's called negative visualization. And it sounds terrible, but it's actually incredibly freeing. Once a week, I want you to spend 5 minutes imagining losing something you cherish. Your health, a relationship, your home, your job. Whatever you're most attached to, not in an obsessive way, not in an anxiety-inducing way, but in a clear-eyed, honest way. What would you do if you lost this? How would you survive? What would remain? This practice does two things. First, it makes you deeply grateful for what you have right now. You stop taking it for granted. You appreciate it while it's here. Second, it prepares you emotionally for loss. Because loss is coming. Everything you love will eventually end. That's not pessimism. That's reality. And if you've mentally rehearsed loss, if you've already imagined how you'd handle it, it doesn't destroy you when it actually happens. You're not blindsided. You're prepared. This is how I survived the death of my son. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I'd already imagined it. I'd already asked myself, Could I survive losing him? What would that require of me? And when it actually happened, I had a template. I had a path forward. I wasn't starting from zero. You might think this makes life sad. It does the opposite. It makes life vibrant. Because when you know something's temporary, you pay attention to it. You don't postpone the love, the presence, the gratitude. You give it now, while you can. So those are the practices. The morning dichotomy audit, the 3-breath reset, obstacle journaling, the evening integrity question, negative visualization. You don't have to do all of them. Pick one. Pick the one that makes you most uncomfortable. That's probably the one you need most. And here's the thing about practice. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. You're not trying to become a Stoic sage overnight. You're just trying to respond a little bit better today than you did yesterday. That's it. That's the bar. A little bit better, a little more aware, a little more intentional, a little more free. And over time, those little bits compound. You wake up one day and realize you're not the same person you were 6 months ago. You're calmer, more grounded, less reactive, more present. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Now, I want to acknowledge something. Everything I've said in this video might sound good in theory, but you're living in the real world with real pressures and real pain. And there are going to be moments when this all feels impossible. There are going to be days when you don't want to do the morning audit because you're too exhausted. Days when you forget the 3 breaths and you react terribly. Days when the obstacle feels too big to journal about. Days when you go to bed knowing you didn't live with integrity. That's okay, you're human. This is a practice, not a performance. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. The goal is to catch yourself spiraling a little faster than you used to choose your response a little more often than you used to return to presence a little more quickly than you used to. You're building new neural pathways. You're retraining your brain. And that takes time. It takes repetition. It takes compassion for yourself when you forget. The most important moment isn't when you get it right. It's when you get it wrong and you choose to start again anyway. That's the practice. Starting again. Every day, every moment, every breath. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep practicing. And I want you to know something. If you've made it this far in this video, if you're still here, still listening, still trying, that means something. That means you're not giving up. That means despite everything you're facing, despite the chaos and the pain and the fear, some part of you still believes peace is possible. And it is. Not because you'll control your circumstances, but because you'll learn to control yourself, your attention, your reactions, your character. That's the promise of what I'm teaching you. Not that life will get easier, but that you'll get stronger. Not that storms will stop coming, but that you'll learn to stand in them without being destroyed. Let me bring this home now. Let me tell you what I wish someone had told me when I was young and terrified and feeling like I was drowning in responsibilities I never asked for. You're not broken because life is hard. Life is hard because you're being forged. Every difficulty you're facing right now, every moment where it feels like you can't handle one more thing, every time you want to give up, that's not evidence that you're failing. That's evidence that you're growing. Growth hurts. Change is uncomfortable. Becoming stronger requires resistance. That's not a flaw in the system. That's the system working exactly as it's supposed to. You're not supposed to feel calm all the time. You're supposed to feel everything and learn how to remain yourself while feeling it. Your anxiety isn't weakness. It's untrained strength. It's power that doesn't know where to go yet. It's energy that needs direction. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's unrefined wisdom. It's the ability to perceive deeply, to feel fully, to understand complexity. The world needs that. You just need to learn how to hold it without being overwhelmed by it. Your chaos isn't the end. It's the beginning of something unshakable. Because chaos breaks down the false structures, the fragile identities, the borrowed beliefs. And underneath all of that is you, the real you, the one who can't be broken because you're not built on circumstances. You're built on character, and character is forged in fire. So here's what I need you to hear. Not from an emperor, not from a philosopher, but from one human being who's struggled to another human being who's struggling. You don't need life to calm down for you to be calm. You don't need everything to be fixed for you to be whole. You don't need permission from anyone to be at peace. You need to become the kind of person who remains calm while life rages, who remains whole while things break, who remains at peace while the world tries to steal it. And that person already exists inside you. They've been there all along. They've been waiting beneath the panic, beneath the control, beneath the exhaustion, beneath the performance. They're the part of you that's reading this right now, the part that's still seeking, the part that knows there has to be a better way. There is a better way. And it starts right now, not tomorrow, not when things are perfect. Right now, with one breath, with one choice, with one moment of presence. That's all you need to start. And then another moment, and then another. And slowly, breath by breath, moment by moment, you build a different life. Not a perfect life, a conscious one. Not an easy life, a meaningful one. Not a life without pain, a life with purpose. And years from now, when you look back on this moment, this crisis, this chapter where everything felt like it was falling apart, you'll realize it wasn't falling apart. It was falling together. Because sometimes the only way to build something true is to let everything false collapse first. So let it collapse. Let go of control. Let go of perfection. Let go of the fantasy version of life where everything goes smoothly and nothing hurts. Welcome to the real life. The one that's messy and hard and uncertain and beautiful and brief. The one that's actually happening instead of the one you imagined. This is it. This is your life, right now, as it is. And you have everything you need to meet it with grace. So take a breath. Remember what's yours to control and what isn't. Find the virtue hidden in the obstacle. Love your fate. Remember you're going to die. And ask yourself, who do I want to be right now? Then be that person. Not perfectly, just intentionally. That's all wisdom really is. It's the practice of being intentional instead of reactive, of being present instead of absent, of being yourself instead of who you think you should be. You can start right now. You can practice right now. You can be calm right now. Not because everything's okay, but because you are. You're still here. Still breathing, still capable, still whole underneath all the breaking. The storm is real, but so is the mountain, and you were always the mountain. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with something you can carry with you, something you can repeat to yourself when it gets hard. When you forget everything I've said, when you're in the middle of chaos and you need something to hold on to, here it is. I cannot control the storm, but I can control my sails. I cannot control outcomes, but I can control my effort. I cannot control others, but I can control myself. I am not broken. I am being forged. This moment is my training. This obstacle is my path. This life is my teacher. I accept what is. I act on what's mine. I release the rest. I am here. I am present. I am enough. Say that to yourself. Write it down. Put it somewhere you'll see it. Because on the hard days, you'll need the reminder. And if this video helped you, if something here landed, if you felt even a moment of relief or recognition or possibility, I want to hear about it. Leave a comment. Tell me which practice you're going to try first. Tell me which teaching hit hardest. Tell me what you're struggling with right now. Because this isn't just me talking at you. This is a conversation, and your voice matters. Your experience matters. Your struggle matters. And if you want more of this, If you want to go deeper into these ideas, if you want practical philosophy that actually helps instead of just sounding nice, subscribe, because we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore about building a mind that nothing can shake, about living with integrity in a chaotic world, about finding peace in the middle of the storm. This is the work, not someday, now, and I'm honored to do it with you. The storm is coming, it's always coming, it's here right now, but so are you, and you're stronger than you think. Be the mountain. I'll see you in the next one.